Hey guys, 2017 is drawing to a close, which means it's time to, just evaluate the past year and see how much I've improved, which obviously means it is time to draw Rapunzel again. Now that I've drawn Rapunzel as many times as I have a bit of a experience redrawing illustrations year after year, and there's things that I've learned that maybe you haven't learned yet that I would like to share, and that is, every year you may improve as an artist and get better overall, but there are certain things that I feel like I always devolve in, which is kind of sad, but I think it's because I get a little complacent and I'm like, okay, so I finally learned how to draw feet. I don't have to worry about it anymore, and then, you know, your feet start getting worse. So it's very much a skill that you need to upkeep, and it's really, really fun to do, so I'm glad that it's as fun as it is. Anyway, I'm drawing Rapunzel, of course. This is the second sketch layer, and hair was something I really struggled with, and actually this one I completely erased. I don't even like the way that face looks. Anyway, so I'm going to talk about the things that I improved on over the year, and the things that maybe I should have spent a little bit more time on. And I encourage you all to do the same. Let me know what you think you've improved with over the year, because I think a little bit of encouragement in the comments section would be awesome, because yeah, it's a new year, new us. We need to have those goals, and I'm also going to let you know what I would like to practice next year to get better at. So like resolutions, art resolutions for the year, you know? So with this year, I feel like I've gotten a lot better at, you know, just posing my characters. It's not as, like, each year I draw Rapunzel basically in the same pose. Some years are stiffer than others, but I think I've gotten a little bit better at, you know, drawing flowier poses and being a little bit looser with my art. And I'm really happy about that. I think that's really, really awesome. But when I did this, when I drew Rapunzel, I make it a habit not to look back at last year's, okay? So I don't want to know what I did well. I don't want to know what I did poorly. I live off like the memory of my practice for this last year, and I think that's the best way to do it, to see what you're working at now and what you're kind of ignoring now. And what I've noticed is I got a little less detailed in certain parts. Last year, I think I did really, really well on the corset and the laces. I totally forgot that I'd done this, but I just looked back and it looks really good. And I kind of cheated out a little bit this year when it came to the laces on the corset. So yeah, as we improve, sometimes we just take little shortcuts as well. So now that I've done these 2 years, though, I can look back and I'm like, oh, see, I used to put time into that, so I know I can do it. So why aren't I doing that anymore, you know? So it's really good to evaluate, reevaluate, and then push forward, you know? And that's why I really encourage anyone to sort of have that illustration that they redo every year. And you don't want to redraw it like every week or something, because it's really hard to spot improvement that way, because you can have an off week or a good week, and it's just kind of a bad idea. So I like to encourage people to just take that one illustration that they were really proud of last year and then redraw it this year, and then try again next year and the year after. And it's really good to just track your progress. So definitely do that. I had a lot of trouble with the hair. I think I say this every year. Hair is just something I really need to practice, so I'm going to add that to my my New Year's resolutions. I'm going to draw hair more. I'm going to look at more references for hair, and I'm going to just... the place that I have the most trouble with the hair is right around the scalp. I think I just tend to draw it too big and like too voluminous to the point where it's just their head looks deformed, you know? So that's something I want to do. Oh, I have to say this, I did improve with hands, which is yes. I feel like that's something that I say every year. I'm gonna get better at drawing hands, and I think I'm really getting there. I definitely improve with hands every year. If you look back at some of the older ones, which I'll have links if you want to watch me draw Rapunzel last year or the year before or the year before or the year before, you can go check those out. But yeah, hands definitely improved this year. Feet improved, which if you remember last year, I was really disappointed with the way I was drawing feet, even though I was really proud 2 years ago of the way I drew feet. So I spent a lot of time practicing feet this year, and it's definitely paid off. It looks really good, and I'm quite happy with the feet. This hand wasn't my best hand, but And people like to ask me, and they're like, oh, how do you draw hands? You draw really good hands, which, I mean, I don't think they're awesome. They're like good for me, like they get better, but I think most people could do better. But my trick that I always tell people is don't spend time on them. The faster you do the hand and the less time you put into it, the better it turns out for me. And then once you've got the whole, illustration sketched out with the hand, you could go over that loosely drawn hand and add in the details based off of that simple sketch. And I think it just, I don't know, improved my hands once I stopped caring. It's probably not a good example. Any art teacher's probably upset about me, but that's what happened. And these feet, can we just look? Oh, I love those feet. The mouth is a little janky. I feel like it just doesn't look like a smile. It's kind of like, I don't know. It's kind of like a Snapchat filter mouth or something. Not my best work, but I tweak that a lot throughout the process since we're only about halfway right now. Yeah, I edit that a lot. You'll see by the end what the mouth looks like. It's not like completely changed, like it's a completely different mouth, but I tweak like the corners of the mouth, which I think is where the biggest issues were. And then here, I remembered that last year I drew in textures because I added a lot of textures to the dress and like the shoulders and the bodice and the skirt. And I remembered that I had done that. So I was like, yeah, I definitely want to continue doing that because that's something I enjoy doing. It's just adding in textures to your digital art can just really add that little extra pop that I really like, even though it's sort of subtle. So yeah, I'm happy with that. And there you can see how I did the laces. I sort of cheated with the laces. So it's a little sad. I kind of wish I had done it the same way as I did it last year, but again, this is just supposed to summarize this year, and I think it definitely did because I didn't do anything like that this year. So that's something to look forward to, I guess. Here I'm trying to add princess seams, and I just couldn't get it to work with the pose, which I think is because I just ignored anatomy when it came to her body. So there's another thing added to New Year's resolutions is practice anatomy, which I've been doing with Renee lately. So yay, that's really, really fun. I definitely encourage practicing your anatomy. I think it'll just pull everything together, draw better bodies, and yeah. Shoulders is an area I have trouble with. I don't know why I drew her waist so skinny, but by the time I had realized, I was like, whoa, it's a little awkward. It was kind of too late, and I wasn't gonna I had added textures to everything, and I was like, yeah, that's not gonna happen. You know how you get like really stuck in your art and you just like put your blinders on and you're just drawing piece after piece after piece after piece after piece, and you're like, you zoom out, look at the whole thing together, and you're like, it's fine, okay, zoom in, and you work on your different pieces, and then you take a break and you come back and then you see all the mistakes. That's kind of what was happening with this piece. So yeah, oh, here, fixing that mouth a little bit more, working on those teeth, coloring in the line art. Usually when I color the line art, I'll leave the outermost edges of the line art black because I like the way it makes it stick out from the canvas. But this time I decided, since she's such a pastel character, it worked a lot better if I just colored in the entire line art, which I don't know if I've done that yet here. I've done it with the arms, so I do it with the rest of the body as well, and I think that turned out really well. And then here's something where I had a lot of fun, was shading this skirt. And I think that's something I've been doing a lot more lately, is adding shading using it's the basic brush in Photoshop. I think it's just the soft round brush, I think is what it's called. And then I like to add little painterly effects with that. I'm not very good at digital painting, which is something I try every once in a while, and it always turns out real blech. But I've found that I can just add little elements of it to my illustrations that already have line art, and I think it's helping me learn. So eventually, one day, I will create a digital painting, and I'll be proud of it. But today's not that day. So yeah, back to the illustration, adding more shading everywhere, because that's something I've really started enjoying more, is adding shading. I think it's because when I started this channel, I did a lot more just line art with flat colors, and I would add maybe cell shading or something. And I've since sort of streamlined my process and gotten a little bit faster at art. And the more you practice, the faster you will get. So now, in the time that it used to just take me to draw an illustration, I can also shade it. So it just feels more productive to me, and it's really, really fun. So I've really enjoyed the process of shading now that I feel like I can get to that point faster. Yeah, I don't know if that makes any sense, but that's how I feel. And then I actually, for her sleeves, since they're a bit transparent, I actually shaded it in a little bit with the skin color, and I really like the effect that that had. I feel like it looks very soft and almost transparent, you know? I mean, it's supposed to, so I'd hope so. Here I am coloring in the hair, which, if you'll ever notice whenever I color hair, I like to take the round gradient tool and first just add the most basic, largest sections of shadows. And then I go in later with the soft round brush with the pressure sensitivity set to the opacity. And then I go in and just eyedrop colors from the dark sections and the light sections and just add more contrast into there. And then, yeah, I think that's basically what I did. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with the shading in this illustration. I don't think I missed any parts this time, because sometimes, and someone will always leave a comment about it when this happens, I'll shade like everything really, really well, and I'll put like a lot of time into it, and then I'll just forget like some kind of accessory will have no shading, or the skin will have no shading. It'll just stick out like a sore thumb, but I won't notice. Because again, those blinders when you're drawing, like, I don't know how to explain them, but I feel like if you've ever drawn something, you understand. Like, you get on this train track of art, and there's no way to like get off again. You're just like, you're gonna go until what you think is done, even if you're missing something. So yeah, here I'm shading in the skin. And they're so sweet. Yay. I tried to add more shading to the face, but again, I don't have enough experience with the anatomy of the face yet, I think, to shade it properly. So that's definitely something I'm going to add to my New Year's resolutions for 2018. Ah! I can't believe it's 2018. What the heck happened to the year? Sheesh. For some reason I still think it's 2016, even though it's not the truth. Okay, so yeah. Adding in all this shading. I am happy with the way like the body was shaded, even though again the anatomy is a little off, so it looks a little silly, but I feel like the shading helps sort of trick you into thinking it was done properly, you know? Here I am adding in detail to the skirt, which was actually really, really fun. And I made a bit of mistakes because I had a reference of Rapunzel up on my other monitor while I was doing this. And for some reason, the reference I was looking at showed one thing, and then I found another reference and it showed something separate. So yeah, I needed to research into why that was. But I think it turned out fine in the end. Here I am adding texture to the outer section of the skirt. And I really make that subtle. I think the best textures are really subtle and you almost don't notice them, you know? Because if you watch Rapunzel, or the movie Tangled, I guess, you don't really see the textures of her skirt unless you zoom in on there. But they're there, and when it's zoomed out, the textures are still visible, you know, because of the... I don't know what I'm saying. Like, they're there. Like, you could zoom in and see them on a frame, but you're not really noticing them. You just see a highly detailed, rendered, textured princess, okay? So I think when you do that with the art and you add in those textures, it just adds that little something that just, it's just that little extra detail, you know? It's just, I love it. It's great, even if it's not super obvious, you know? I think it shows, and like, shows that you put time into it. So yeah, here I'm doing the lantern. I always mess up the sun, and I was like, why does this not look right? When I made it all the way around with like the little flares of the sun, I was like, something's wrong. And I know I make this mistake every time. So each flare of the sun is like the exact same thing, same shape. So there's a big flare, and then there's the little flare. And you go all the way around, and for some reason, whenever I get to the bottom, I like invert the shape. I don't know if you noticed. You can see it if you look at it. The flares, they're all going to the right as they go down, and then once they hit the bottom, they're flipped to the left, and then they go all the way up. So the two top ones aren't the same, and the two bottom ones aren't the same. It's just, don't know why it gets me every time. But yeah, I didn't notice that until I was done. So here I am just having a little bit of fun playing with lighting. I feel like I do this every year too, but yeah, I added some glowing to the lantern so it looks more like, you know, it's a lantern and it's glowing. So yeah, let me know what you guys would like to improve upon for the next year, and what have you improved upon this year that you want to carry over into next year. I think this is just awesome. Anyway, thank you guys for watching. I'll see you guys all next week, and I hope you have a delicious evening. Actually, a delicious year full of waffles. Bye!